For sure, for sure.
Okay, we're recording now. Uh, just to kick things off, we've had a couple of days break, sort of. I think a lot of us were still working over the holidays, but it was a touch slower over the 24th and 25th. But now we're fully back into it and ready to get the ball rolling. Do you have any things you want to bring up from your end, Jake, from the dev and business development that took
Yeah.
place in the last week and what is coming next week?
Yeah, absolutely. I can run through a couple things there. I know that there's probably going to be some questions around. Take off this hoodie. Too many hoodies. Got this torch going. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be some questions around some of the like OTC deals that we put together over this past week, so I can kind of bring people up to speed on those. Um, just so everyone's really clear on it, these weren't deals um, that were set just to sell NFTs, right? They were really strategic partnerships with different liquidity providers. Right now, there's only two. Um, we've also really been transparent about both of these transactions. And like I said, they weren't just to sell NFTs. Otherwise, we would simply take our NFTs from our vault and dump them every time there's a pump, which yeah, we're not doing that too. I hope everyone understands it's not the pure intent is to sell NFTs there. So first off, on our first one with LT Lightbot, again, we sold 100 NFTs out of the vault at 7 SOL. I think our price was around 10 SOL at that point. And the reason there versus having them sweep, one, sweeping, I understand. Look, it'd be great if you were the one listing there. But then he would have to sweep all the way from 10 up to what to secure what amount of range, which then we would have to apply a discount to the ones we're actually selling from our vault. And so what that would have ended up doing is leaving us actually making less per NFT than even 7. And all the ones that were swept, we see no benefit off of those. And so again, we did the 100 from the vault, and at the same time secured 1,800 SOL for our liquidity pool that will be locked up for 6 months. So both the 100 NFTs are locked for 6 months because those are what are needed to create the pool. I think he even wants to create the 150, so it'll be an additional 50 NFTs there that'll be locked up. Plus, again, that 1,800 SOL is locked up, right? And so the second one, again, with the decrease to the amount in our vault, we didn't want to really apply it at the same rate because we had seen already our floor spiked by then. And so we were also fair, like we were kind of like, we don't know if we'll do it at all because the floor had spiked. And then the floor had begun to come back down. It's a natural part of any price action. And so there, that was at 7.5 and for 45 NFTs. Person had already had 10. And they'll be locking those 45 up for 6 months as well at, again, 18 SOL per NFT. So that's around 810 SOL that would be locked up in the liquidity pool there. And that's just the minimum, right? Once these models are proven and people are actually able to start seeing that they have a yield off of the liquidity, they'll probably inject more. But at minimum, we have 1,800 and 100 NFTs locked, 45 NFTs, which will be 50, locked with 810 SOL. So all around, I think really great deals there for the team, for the community, and for the project itself and our liquidity pools. I can pause there though to see if anyone has any questions or thoughts around those deals. Then, I mean, I know I saw in the chat some other people were like, "Well, can we do these?" Of course, you just have to realize that we're not selling NFTs. We're finding strategies to lock up liquidity for the LPs. But yeah, definitely want to see like what questions people have.
I want to chime in there. So after he did that, I mean, Lollipop, he actually went and swept. I think it was an additional like 50 or 70 NFTs. So he actually made it over that 150 threshold now. I think he's at 170. So just getting him in the group chat and talking with you and some of the other members from the team, I think it's played a huge role, and it's kind of building conviction in a lot of people. So I think if we keep that going, I mean, I had no issue whatsoever in you guys doing that or with the other guy that just came in the other day. So I think you're definitely on the right path with what you're doing and how you structured it.
I appreciate that. I think we saw a direct result. Sorry to mean to cut you off, Serge. I was just going to say, I think we saw a direct result of the sentiment, both in the messages, like in response to his tweet. I know we had like one or two people just curious about the conditions of it, and initially thought that it was unfair. I hope I put those thoughts to bed. But look what happened to the floor post that announcement. I think we ran up to 13. And like I said, of course, you draw down. That's what happens with price action in anything. But yeah, he certainly has showed conviction outside of just getting a deal.
I think I'd add as well that like it's not like we're adding to the supply. It's just from our allocation that we kept from the actual mint. And as for a precedence going forward, it's not something that we're seeking out. And of course, because there's still a limited supply that we can source from. So we want to still have that card up our sleeves going forward. But I think getting certain people involved in, I guess, locking up liquidity as well as certain level of marketing that comes from that. I'm not sure if that was part of the thought process as well, Jake. But
I mean, I knew that he would. Well, first off, there was the thought of transparency, and he was more transparent than I even had asked him to be. And so with that, there were no marketing conditions with it. I can literally send a screenshot of the conversation. Like the agreement written out literally had in it no marketing. And so outside of the tweet being transparent, all of his tweets about the project have been from his own initiative, which I think is an important part. I think that just him being in the project and a voice of it, even outside of tweeting about it, I'm sure that he's speaking about what we're building with communities that might have questioned, not known enough, or doubted. And so I think, again, someone of his caliber certainly carries its own weight. And then even the second person that we brought in, less followers, but it's to that same point. They run in certain circles that I think that it'll bring a lot of awareness to what we're doing here.
Did anyone else have any questions about that, or we'll move on? Okay. What about
awesome. You
go. What about dev stuff? From what I'm hearing, what's the date today? 27th. We're going to have something rolling out this week. Did you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the dev side, I was really aiming for us to have the raffle and auction house prepared last week, so we could have something out for Christmas. Unfortunately, it just didn't line up correctly, and so we couldn't make announcements with it, and so we would have shot ourselves in the foot. So I don't want to get over our skis here, but a part of the auction and raffle house will be released this week, I believe. Again, we host these town halls to be as transparent as possible, and so I don't want to like overpromise and underdeliver, so I'm being very cautious with that. I don't want to get you guys overly hyped. It's just going to be one side, and it's looking like it's going to be the raffle side. And with that, again, I don't want to put a date on it. It's going to be probably the later half of the week that we roll it out. And with that, the design of the raffle house, I think you guys are going to be blown away, especially even the auction house too in that release. And just like the UX UI of it is beautiful. The rollout of that, just so everyone's aware, the way that we have it set up currently is that it will be team set. So what that means is that the raffles and auctions that we host will be set by the team. Now, we can, of course, host one-of-one artists. If a whale wants to raffle off one of their NFTs, they'd have to obviously send it to the team, and then we can set things up like that. But we really want to battle test it first with like what conditions we're playing around with as the team. Then we'll open it potentially to holders only of our NFTs to actually be able to host their own auctions or raffles. And then third, inevitably to the public. And with these options, you'll be able to denominate it in SOL or our token Talon. And here's a little hint. The first few auctions and raffles that the team is hosting, I'm pushing to have us obviously host in Talon. There may be a mix of them. There may be some that are in SOL, some that are in Talon, but certainly, if any at all, they will be in Talon. And so, I mean, if you're staking, make sure you guys are claiming Talon. Let us know what your experience is like there. And definitely always give us feedback when we release the raffle. Let us know what like UX, UI things you think are good, what sucks. Even with staking, I know that we had an outcry of support for it. I'm glad that everyone liked it. I know though that there were some hiccups here and there, and so those hiccups really helped us patch together and make it a really clean experience for everyone.
Yeah.
Any questions though about that? Because I mean, in addition to just even the release of it, we'll put out like a full write up that you can send to people. But it would definitely be a massive help if the community here, if you have any connections to one artists, if you have, hell, if you're an artist yourself, and you want to experiment on a new auction house or raffle kind of platform, again, we'll do it completely free. We don't want any money for it. We'll host you guys. There's no point in taking anything from you. And just reach out to you again, myself or Searcher. I think we're actually gonna create a support ticket for it. It'll just be a really easy way then of kind of managing the conversations. Because with that, we have to obviously set up a schedule of release for various auctions and raffles to take place.
So we had a question about the staking. Let me just go back to it from Jay Kumar about the transaction fees, because they're 0.06 sold to claim 1,600 talent. I did talk to the dev team about this because a couple of people brought up that question, and it's purely because we're running through Cardinal for the soft staking protocol. So that's actually the Cardinal fees, but our devs are working at the moment to wrap these transactions up so that you can do it in batches for a lower cost of fees. But that was, that's Cardinal side of things that's creating that.
Got it. And I actually have a point on that too for everyone. And so like drop in the holder chat, or it might be easier to drop in the general chat your opinion on this. So I've been in conversations with X Labs. Now, understand Cardinal, I know Manny, they're really great friends. They're really great developers, and it's a great relationship there. And so if we were to migrate staking, it might hinder that a little bit. So take that into consideration when you give us your opinion here. But X Labs has approached us for their royalty solution. Now, this solution applies to staking, where if we apply this, when you go to stake, if you've not paid royalties, you will not be able to earn talent. And all you'll have to do in their UI, which is really clean experience, you'll just simply pay the royalties that you didn't, and then it'll be unlocked. I want to caveat that with the fact of what we're doing with our royalties. Again, we've built Core, we built our entire business strategy and roadmap around with nothing around royalties being involved. And that was before the royalty fiasco. And so what we're looking to do with our royalties, really, and like we put out in our documents already, is we want to give them back to the community via, again, these kinds of grants that we can issue to the various factions. I think that will create a really healthy community environment where, again, community members in these factions can put proposals forward to the faction councils. The councils can approve or deny, and maybe we even come up in the future with a more decentralized version of that. I think we already have, where I think if we get above 75% of a yes vote, it doesn't even need to be approved by the council. But then the council pushes it to us and we issue the grants. These grants are things that enhance the community in terms of like different features. Like, okay, if we wanted wise whales, okay, I think it's like 10 NFTs to get the Discord wide features. Boom. Okay, it gets put forward as a proposal, accepted by the council. We issue either the funds to purchase the NFTs, or we just purchase them and then issue the NFTs to the multi-sig. And so I think that's a really healthy way of one, saying, hey guys, if you haven't, you're going to have to pay the royalties to earn talent. And to anyone in the future that wants to be part of the community or earn talent for that matter, pay fucking royalties. Look, if you want to trade us, I don't hold it against you. Flip us. I don't give a fuck. Don't pay royalties. That's perfect. But again, for like the more in-depth things, especially when you're going to start to be able to earn or use talent for these auctions, these raffles, I think it's a healthy way of incentivizing versus kind of just forcing people to pay royalties and giving them nothing in exchange. But like I said, drop your thoughts on that in the convo, because we'd have to convert our staking over to X Labs. I brought that up too regarding the question you asked, Searcher, because with X Labs, I think it's $2,500 a year for the service, and we have to hold 50 SOL worth of their NFT to get 0 fees for claiming. So the community will be able to claim their staked or their earned talent without any fee at all. And there's some things that worked out with X Labs as well, where we have some deals going on in the background where we won't really have to do certain things. And I'll see what I can disclose there later. But it's not like we're giving them NFTs or anything like that. So it's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Because
I think I'll add my thoughts on it because I guess I've been anti-royalty in the past, but I can see the benefits for it as well. And this X Labs is probably the closest thing to a solution that I have really looked into, where it's to do with royalty incentivization instead of enforcement, because a lot of enforcement ends up I guess stopping the volume and movement of NFTs on the trading platforms, which is no good for floor price, and it's no good for the long term of a project if volume dries up. Where this incentivizes and I guess rewards those that support the project through royalties via Talon, and in a way you actually increase the amount of Talon you have against the supply if you pay royalties, because those that don't pay royalties won't get the Talon coming in. So I guess it's almost like a double whammy from that perspective. But of course, if you can drop in Holder Chat, in Gen Chat, your thoughts on whether you like the idea or not, that'd be really appreciated, and we can take that feedback on and move forward, because we don't want to do something that's going to upset too many of our community holders, especially those that are active within our Discord and Twitter. Did anyone have any thoughts on it now? No, nothing at the moment.
Definitely feel free to voice, by the way, guys. If you do have any questions or you have any thoughts about it, jump on the voice. Definitely want to hear from you guys.
Oh, the channel's full for Townhall, apparently.
Oh, no shit.
We got a few things in the chat. That's the one, Razikin. That's X Labs Stakeor 2.0. So it was actually part of the Magic Eden Hackathon, and were the winners, I believe. Is that correct, Jake?
Yep, that's correct. They won the hackathon.
Yep.
For royalties, though. I mean, clearly Magic Eden thinks it's a good solution. It's and I think it also goes to the fact that our community members won't have to pay any claim fees. I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
So I don't like that people have to pay claims.
Yeah, I think I have a question. Who is behind the window back there?
Who's behind the window?
Nobody.
Made him look.
Fuck you, Ziggy, you son of a bitch. That was a good one. I was going to say, wait, what? I might just spend my shot, but no. You're funny dude.
So Razikin did have a question, a bit of a let's go back a step from the royalties, but he said, do we plan to release any leaks of the raffle platform until full release, and do we have any marketing behind it other than just an announcement?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I don't want to give away what day we're thinking it's going to be ready, but we'll be putting out leaks in the next day or so in terms of like what the views look like, so you guys can kind of get some insight to that. Like I said, I think you guys are really like the UI and UX of it. And then in terms of marketing behind it, that's what I'm talking about with the help I could use from you guys in terms of connecting us with Eddie, one artist, because that kind of creates like a grassroots marketing effort where we don't need to do this whole big like video of it or all this kind of clickbaity shit. We can just have legitimate artists come on, say that they're looking to do one of their drops here, and kind of roll it out with that. And so, like I said, we have a number of groups that really focus on one artist that have already reached out. And so, yeah, I think that part of the marketing are those auctions themselves. But of course, we'll put together some cool little fucking video for everyone to retweet and like and stuff. But yeah, I think the lineup will certainly help push that marketing forward.
Awesome. Let me just check the chats to make sure nothing else is. Yep. No more questions on
also,
that.
while you're looking at that, also the auction house in raffles. So we want to use it as a platform to really shine a spotlight on one artist, community members, also to give like the community, the public, the ability to kind of host auctions and raffles there in a sexier way than elsewhere. That's only like 25% of what this platform is going to be. And I think it's a very important part. Maybe the one of one side really helps shine through it all. But once core is rolling, the auction house is really going to help market itself, because again, that's where we're going to be auctioning a lot of the liquidated NFTs. Again, I would hope that there's none, but the reality is that there will be some. And so I think when our community is able to win at auction dramatically below floor NFTs, that will kind of be in itself marketing, or its own grassroots marketing kind of campaign. But I just want to make sure everyone understands that the auction house and the raffle platform on the public side is just like an additional bonus of how we're using it, and that the real primary utility of this platform is for our holders and the public to be able to have access to these liquidated NFTs. If anyone's unfamiliar, by the way, in the tiers of this, there will be private auctions for our holders only. There will be public, obviously, for our holders, but the public as well. And some of those auctions very well may be gated, where the public has to pay X amount in Talon to enter the auction. And the third is general, which will really feed to the raffle side, where we'll have tickets to these raffles sold in Talon. Also, obviously, Sol as well, because we can't purely just have everything in Talon at least at the current moment. That should give you some insight to where we're looking to take things.
I think also just to add to the marketing perspective, so for those that don't know, Light's our marketing head, and we've been in a lot of discussions with him about rolling out of our utilities. And one of the reasons why we haven't done much marketing recently on the raffle house is we were waiting for us to know when it was going to launch. And secondly, we've held off the last couple of days purely because Christmas is usually the lowest engagement time on Twitter. It was a bit I don't think anyone was expecting the activity on Twitter that happened yesterday, but was that someone speaking, or so I think that was the plan, is that moving on, I think the next couple of days we're going to start pushing that. It was just trying to hold off and not, I guess, burn our ammo when Twitter was quiet.
Plus also, like, we could launch the raffles today, let's say, with zero marketing done. It would just simply be a soft rollout, right? And so what we could easily do then is take the activity, like monitor the activity of the raffle house and the auction house and use that in marketing. So, I mean, if we release the raffle house, let's say Thursday, and we've not put out anything about it, don't think that is like a failure on marketing. We very well could just do that again as this kind of soft rollout for those that have been paying attention. Guess what? You have less people than you're going to be competing against. So don't hate that. And then when you'll be taking collect all of the activity,
you'll be taking our NFTs for cheap, basically.
Then we can easily put it out with like a big rollout in terms of the marketing for it, which really, again, there's strategy behind all of this.
Okay, so I guess I'll quickly check one more time. No more questions. I'll talk a bit from the community side. So we've had the Faction Council campaign start last week. We've had, I think, now 5 people put their hat in the ring. Is it 1, 2? Yep, 5 people put their hat in the ring. I think 20 to 25 have actually clicked for the role. So what the next steps are is we will have a polling bot installed into the Discord that's going to be an anonymous one, and we will set that up on the 28th because that's when elections will start. We're not preventing people from putting their hat in the ring after that date, but the 4th of January will be the hard cutoff for the voting to stop, and that's when we'll bring in our new council members for the factions and start working on building these sub-DAOs and working on providing these grants from the royalties as discussed. So just don't forget, if you can't get your application in by the 28th, that's fine. But the 4th is the hard cut-off date for that moving forward. But I'm excited to see what we've got coming, and it looks like we've got some pretty great candidates already put their hat in the ring already.
Also, to kind of add on top of that, I don't want to get over our skis in terms of like what internally has been discussed, but I'll say this, that especially for myself, and I know a good amount of the team, we come from the perspective of decentralization over centralization. And so the current model that we have right now for a lot of the business around UGS Labs is pretty centralized. So look, if you're looking to participate in what we're building here at a larger scale, I would definitely recommend throwing your hat into that faction council ring, because inevitably, and again, I don't want to get over our skis because it's not been finalized, really even deeply discussed, but the pursuit of taking UGS to a decentralized manner is in the air. And how we do that, whether it be through the NFTs as a governance mechanism, talent as a governance mechanism, the councils then potentially even delineating some way into governance, I would participate. If you're involved in a bunch of other projects, I get like, oh, you only have so much time in a day, but if you like what we're building here, if you're bullish on UGS, I would start participating in these kind of deeper ends, because they will have greater impact than kind of just being a casual holder, let's say.
Yeah,
so that will always benefit.
That's always been my ethos prior to working here, is having a bit of control over your own bags as well. I've always liked to get involved in stuff like this, and like Jake said, it allows us to still have centralization from an organisation perspective, but delve into the decentralisation of DAOs and sub-DAOs at the same time. It's almost like best of both worlds, and something that I'm really excited about. We also talked a touch, we haven't delved too much into it, about a proof of work concept that'll line up with our raffle house. I'll leave it at that. That's probably our alpha that I'll drop for today. That's something that a lot of you haven't heard of, because I know a lot of regular faces in here hear our updates all the time, but that's something we've started to discuss as well for those that put their hand up and volunteer to make UGS or Underground Society a better project for the future.
Just a quick question. So for like when Lollipop bought in, was there anything on his side where for his liquidity, did he only want it to go towards SMB, or is that going to be for all NFTs that you guys provide to borrow against or towards?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I've gotten that question from a couple of people now, not just about LT, but just the liquidity pools in general. So we don't want to give the option to specify to one collection or two collections and not the others. The reason behind that is that it begins to muddy like the attributed revenue model, where like, again, the total TVL, or the total tally, the total value locked that's powering core. When you have all of a sudden someone that might put in 1,000 SOL and say, no, just DGOTs for these guys, but everyone else puts in for everyone else, it begins to confuse where liquidity has come from, what it's been attributed to. So no, not him, not anybody is going to be able to, at least in our current models, say, all right, here's 10,000 SOL, I just want it for SMBs. It'll be for all of the approved collections, and with that, I can kind of give a little bit of alpha towards what we're thinking in terms of governance. So we don't want, as the team at UGS, we don't want to be the sole deciders of what collections get approved. Now, there does need to be a very strenuous vetting process of what collections we do approve, obviously, because we don't want these very obvious exploits. But in terms of like a governance decision, it would be really interesting to see like how we can allow the community, or not even allow the community, but give the power over to the community on what collections get approved. I think it would decentralize us more. and really bring out the Web3 ethos and kind of begin the road at which we roll down to full decentralization of UGS. So yeah, the short answer there is no. There is no specification to a specific collection. There won't be, and there really shouldn't be, because look, everyone is going to look at the highest volume collections, right? So if you look at DGODs, huge volume. So would you guys want someone to come in that's a whale and say, you know what, my soul can only be used there? Well, what happens to SMB? What happens to Blocksmith Labs? What happens to Galactic Echoes, to Champions, and so on? And so we don't want to limit these other collections, or kind of show preference, or even give the ability for people to show preference to one or the other. I think them being approved to be used with core is preference enough, but I'd love your thoughts on that.
Okay. So I guess something to follow up on that would be, okay, let's just say hypothetically I wanted to launch a collection, and I want people to be able to borrow to buy my collection, even though it's a new mint. Now, if that were to be, would you guys create a structure where, say, okay, if I want to be on UGS, then I'm going to have to, out of my mint funds, I'm going to have to upfront put 500 Solana or however many Solana, to get my collection on? I mean, would that be a viable option in the future?
Yeah, I think in terms of, well, there's two different points there, right? Like, let's say you just minted, right? And we had nothing to do with your mint. You're a new collection. The risk there is that you don't have an established floor among these different trades. Part of our algorithm that we custom built has taken the pretty long data history of these approved collections and on-chain pervade what these different traits they have in their collection have been, or what the floor prices of those traits have been. And it gives us a reasonable range to start building out a more complex model of core, where initially it's really going to be for the NFTs near the floor. But in the future, we'll be able to apply core to be used for any trait of any rarity, and apply like different, obviously risk curves, let's say, to those. And so it's a little bit different with a collection that's just been minted and doesn't have enough on-chain history yet. I wouldn't be opposed to it if that creator or that team said, you know what, we did just mint, our total mint was 50,000 SOL. We'll put 20,000 SOL into a core liquidity pool and lock it up for 6 months. Okay, I would be more willing to do that than if people were just to ask me like, hey Jake, this new collection just minted, like Dual Bots, let's say. That's a great example, actually. Dual Bots or Dual Casino. They just minted. I don't even remember what they minted at. I know it was really low, but they've seen a lot of success. I think they're above 35 SOL now. It's a very risky collection to lend on, because tomorrow they could go from 35 to 10. And if you're able to take out 33 or only deposit 33%, we cover 67. There's ways to manipulate that where you're selling us the NFT in the first place, right? And so we have to be very cautious with lending protocols, especially the way that we built ours. Now, to the part about mints, we have already begun to kind of draw up the design for a use case of core for minting NFTs. One that requires zero liquidity on our part, puts a lot of the risk on the creators, but hell, if you have a 10K collection right now, what has everyone been saying? Oh, it's hard to mint out a 10K. Well, imagine that the user was able to use core to mint a collection. You'd see a lot more successful mint outs. We wouldn't have an established floor price. So like I said, the model of core would be different, where it would be more based upon defaulting, where if you don't pay back by this date, you default, versus core now, where there's a liquidation model in it, where if the price goes down too far, you could get liquidated. And so just to give you some alpha, I guess, towards future ambitions of core, we've already begun, and we already know how we can use it for minting NFTs, but new minted collections, they're squirrely, man. They're tough to put a beat on, especially in this market right now. And especially with just like the kinds of inside things that go on with new collections. Like, you don't know who's been given pre-sale when the public mints 3 SOL, these guys got in at 0.5, or fucking influencers got 100 of these NFTs just to shill for no reason, and all of a sudden we're allowing people to buy them. It gets squirrely there. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. No, I think it'd be interesting to kind of take a concept like phase protocol where, as the project advances on their roadmap, that you pay them out the SOL from their mint. If Core could even, if you guys kind of acted, I guess not as a launch pad, but maybe if you partnered with one and then just had a structure in place that, say these guys decide they want to run off with the 10% of funds from their mint that you provided to them, you have the other 90%. So either the launch pad can take that over and run the project, or you guys could. I mean, you already got a huge workload, so.
No, I understand it. And I mean, just my thoughts on Phase. Look, I love the team behind Phase. I know a number of them are in our protocol. I just don't want to be in the business of telling people what to do with their money. For example, like us, like UGS, when we minted, we went from a 10K to a 5K. If we had a Phase protocol that was handling our funds based upon milestones, like it would just be a fucking headache. Trust me. Like I'm sure you know what goes on behind the scenes and just having to like handle teams, pay developers, and whatnot. It would just be a nightmare to have to like have someone overarching our funds. But like I said, with in terms of like a model for minting that we can partner with launchpads to, and it really wouldn't even be the launchpad. For example, with our mint, I don't think Magic Eden enabled it, so they were supposed to. You were supposed to be able to mint our collection using CrossMint. That was just something we said we wanted. It wasn't necessarily something that like Magic Eden came to us and like suggested. And so we can easily partner with collections and creators before they mint, give them the ability to have, quote unquote, the button that says purchase with Core, and whatever the stipulations the creators wanted. So they can say, look, we'll allow people to buy, or we'll only allow people to buy with 50% of the funds. So it's a 10K mint, let's say it's one SOL. So if everyone used it, which by the way, they could probably gate how many people actually used it, they would make 5K. But if the duration that we set out then for people that minted it using Core was, all right, you have 14 days to pay it back. Well, all of a sudden they've got 5K. If everyone defaulted, they'd have 5,000 SOL and their collection back. Right? I don't think that that's obviously what would happen, but you can see how there is risk upon creators that they might not get the rest of the proceeds if people default, but you'll see action on the floor. You'll get some funds back. Like, for example, with us, fuck, man, I would love if people had minted our collection using Core and started defaulting right now. Went from a 2.5 to an above 10 SOL mint. I would love some of my NFTs back. And so I think it creates a very interesting use case for Core, especially if the collection itself is going to be a successful project, which we would obviously not partner with anyone that we think is going to be a shit project, because we would have risk of reputation. And again, right, with no liquidity required for this kind of a thing, our profit would come from some mix of funds from them or NFTs that got defaulted, like some percent maybe, but that's just food for thought.
Okay.
But I do love the thoughts and love the suggestions, because that's, again, where like a lot of our different use cases come from.
Yeah. No, it's just out of curiosity. So no, I appreciate you answering them. Did a good job.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir.
Awesome. Do we want to keep moving forward? We're at about
let's keep going.
40-minute mark. I don't really have a ton to add from the community perspective, other than the faction councils is our main focus at the moment. IT is Raffle House is rolling out, Auction House not long after, and then Core early to mid-January. And then I guess, did we want to have a bit of a discussion about yesterday's stuff on Twitter, or just leave that be? I think
I would rather leave it be. Look, if people are upset about what's going on there, and I think everyone knows what's happening, I get it. I have my own opinions of it too, which I know I've voiced with some of you. But I will say this, that you don't need to take a collection multi-chain to take your business multi-chain. And so applying it to us and where UGS is looking to move in the future, we've been transparent about it from day one. The future is multi-chain. There's no discussion about it. As soon as someone creates a layer that Ethereum DeFi can operate on Solana's chain, which I think we already are building that now. I think that there's the ability to convert Solidity contracts to Rust now. But what we're looking to do with UGS is move multi-chain. It's in our roadmap for those that have seen the deck, and we'll make the presentation deck public for everyone very soon. On it, it literally says, I think by the end of Q2, we're looking to be multi-chain. On the biz dev side, have already reached out to some of the top creators on Near, some of the people that are building on Sui. I come from a multi-chain background. I do love Ethereum, and truly the profitability that we see and project here on Solana is 10 times that on Ethereum. But again, I can take core multi-chain without taking my community multi-chain. I do believe that we should bring users back to Solana. And so with that, there should be no concern that we'll take our 5K multi-chain. Maybe we release another collection on another chain, but it won't have nearly the benefits that our main collection has. And that's the way that I think we'll always perceive our 5Ks. That is our main collection. Anything after that is a lesser than. And it's not to shoot future collections in the foot, but there needs to be a hierarchy discussion there that I don't think is happening enough, or with at least enough transparency. But
yeah, so that was my thought. Why I brought it up is I wanted to focus on the positives for UGS that could potentially come from this move. There was a lot of panic and a lot of anger on the timeline yesterday, but all that it's done for us is it's opened up doors to new chains that with connections that we already have. It's like it's there treading the path for us to then follow with core. So I think that's a pretty big positive from our perspective. And I know we have a lot of the gods and Utes holders within our community as well. So it's organic marketing then that would then move to other chains, which is ultimately our goal for core. So that was sort of why I wanted to bring it up, not focus on the negatives too much, but the potential positives that could come from this for you guys as our holders and community.
Yep. Yeah, I think that the multi-chain, again, you have from the user all the way to the seed investors of a chain, you have very different ones in these different ecosystems, right? And so whether it be grants from foundations, look, Sui, Aptos, Avalanche, Near, Polygon, Ethereum, though their foundation is not really going to give shit to anybody. Any of these chains, those are all of a sudden different revenue streams. So we shouldn't neglect that reality. They're new marketplaces to kind of bridge into. Like I said, we built core to be very marketplace agnostic. We should consider that also chain agnostic. I would love to have different liquidity pools set up powering different chains, but it is all core, right? And so, like I said, there's not really much of a discussion there. I mean, even if we go to or how we kind of aim to decentralize, there should be no misconception of what multi-chain really means. I think a lot of the negativity comes because there's not an obvious business model that requires taking the collection multi-chain, which is kind of where I end up on it. But it does make sense. Look, if DGOTs get denominated in ETH, the depth of liquidity there is going to be a lot greater for their holders. But I mean, it wouldn't have been difficult to release another collection on ETH that DGOT holders receive an airdrop of, perhaps. But hey, to the founders their own, I guess, to each their own, to the founders their own. Yeah. Just stay positive.
Okay. So I think that might wrap us up from a town hall, unless anyone's got any questions they want to ask at all.
Let me see.
I just wanted to say to the people the community. I just put my hat in the bag for the council. So if you have time, go check it out. Also, Jake, you really need to see that video. I think you are the only one from the team that I didn't send it to. So
Damn it to me. The fuck, man.
yeah. Yeah, I will.
Treating me like shit out here.
You front run me there.
They're not fucking have my chair in it.
You front run me there, Ziggy. I was going to say Townhall's finished, and now we're going to open up for Faction Council members to discuss their candidacy and their plans. Do you have any discussions on that at all, on what your thoughts are and plans moving forward, and which council you're actually running for?
Yeah, I'm going for Arco. And I don't know. I think I should let people ask me questions if they have some. If not, they should go and read what I typed there and watch the video.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't had a chance because I was setting up this town hall, but I'll have a look afterwards and ask you. But for those that aren't aware, there's a channel called Faction Council Candidates. Only those that have picked the role are able to create threads in there, but then everyone can ask as many questions as they want within the threads themselves. So if you've got questions for Ziggy, Quacken, Ark, Frank, and Wizard, jump in there and grill them. Give them the old politicians and ask the hard questions and see what they come up with. All good. Well, let's wrap it up. That's we're coming close to an hour, and that's a big thing. A couple of days after the holidays. Appreciate everyone showing up and those that ask questions. Oh wait, sorry, Jake. There was one more question in the chat. Have we had any luck with getting Magic Eden to pop up with our collection when we type UGS and not just Underground Society?
Yes. Yeah, so the response I got from them when I brought that up is that we have to put UGS in the title somewhere. So we might just put like in parentheses UGS in there so that way it can feed. But they're creating the creator page. So I'll talk with our rep there to see like what can be done without us having to do that, because that's just kind of ugly.
Yeah, because it seems to work for Famous Fox, I believe, as someone was saying, and I don't believe they have
if you
that.
Type FFF.
Yeah, let me check that to see if that's true. Yes, it does.
Yeah,
so
if you
Famous,
do that, then
yep, Famous Fox works and it doesn't have FFF, but I guess it does have.
Then there's no excuse. We'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll get them to do that then.
Yep.
Because that'll just be my exact example. I'll be like, look, what are you guys talking about? Just do it. But yeah, we'll get that set up then. I know they're creating the creator page for us right now.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, very cool, guys. I appreciate everyone coming out. I know day after the holiday, it's definitely probably not the first thing you would come to mind, but like I said, I really appreciate everyone showing up. We'll definitely have a couple exciting things this week for everyone.
Awesome. Well, I'll shut this off. I'll close the recording, and I'll have that up on YouTube later today.
Right.
Thanks for coming.
Cheers, guys. I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye, everybody.